alaikum, everyone. Welcome to Masjid Parking Lot. I hope you're in for an exciting listen. Today, we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome with our two very honorable, prestigious, and amazing guests, Balsam and
Hello.
Mido Mahfouz. Yes, please say hi. Please say hi, Balsam.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Actually, that's so weird.
And we will be joined by our facilitator, Faizan Habibi and Randa Mudathir. For anyone there who wants to know, yes, Balsam and Randa are siblings, and the better one is Balsam, in case anyone wanted to know.
Thank you.
Hey, assalamualaikum everyone. We're back with another video. Today, we have two awesome people joining us for this podcast episode. If you guys want to just introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mido. Fun fact about me, I like soccer. And I'm better than Faizan in soccer. For anyone who's interested to know. Just FYI.
Yeah. Sure.
There you go.
Keep dreaming, buddy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Balsam. Fun fact about me. She's my sister. I'm Randa's sister. That's my fun fact. It's kind of lame, but not as good as Mido's, but...
Yeah.
I'm sorry I stole your fun fact. You can go ahead and say another one.
No, it's fine. I was about to blink. Yeah.
We all have our goals that we want to aspire to. Being Randa's sister is an amazing goal.
Honestly, yeah. I'm being nice.
I'm
gonna start off nice.
We wanted this episode to focus on imposter syndrome. And we came across, or Randa came across, this graphic which highlights the 5 types of imposter syndrome. And so we shared it with you guys earlier. And so we wanted to first ask which one you guys identify with, and maybe give like a brief description of why you identify with this, maybe a story or a short blurb, not blurb, but like a short anecdote.
I'll share my screen so that like the viewers can see the graphic just super quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can see this, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the 5 types of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, so there's the perfectionist, there's the expert, there's the soloist, there's the superwoman / superman, and there's the great mind. If anyone wants to read this, they can pause and read it, but we're not going to continue sharing our screen for the rest of this episode. So you guys can take it away. Does anyone want to start, or should I cold call somebody?
Cold call.
All right,
You can
Mido,
cold
you spoke first.
Okay, so here I would say I identify most with great mind. And the great mind, the description is, I judge myself on ease and speed. If I were really competent, it would come quickly and easily. The reason I say this is because I want the easiest path possible to anything, right? If I am teaching a student, well, why complicate things? If a student can do a shortcut, show me how you did that shortcut. Wonderful, great, you get the mark, right? Because in real life, it's like, I think of it as physics, displacement versus distance, right? Distance is the path you take. Displacement is the shortest distance from point A to point B, right? In real life, whenever you're given any task, you want the shortest distance. Why complicate things, right? As a result, that's what I always want. So the whole great mind, quickness, and ease, that is essentially what I try to instill in my students. It's like, don't make things more difficult than they already are. Life is difficult, right? Find the easiest path, right? That's why I try to avoid that for them. I try to avoid from them memorizing too much or whatever, simply because you want to make it easy for them. But yeah, that's why I say great mind.
Randa, let's hear you.
Okay, I think I identify the most with the soloist, so that's the type 3, and the description is, I believe that true competence is equal to my own unassisted achievements. I must do everything myself, and I feel this all the time. And like, even anyone I work with or all of my friends and stuff like that, whenever I'm like taking on a new project or anything like that, they're always like, oh, do you need help? And I'm just like, no, I got this, even though I know that it's gonna require so much time and so much energy to, get the project done, and I could totally do it with the help of someone else and it would work out perfectly fine. But I'm just like, no, I have to do it on my own, otherwise I'm not competent enough.
I actually have a question
Yeah.
for you, Randa.
Yeah, go
So if you take on a task and it's group task rather than individual task, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel that you're incompetent even if you succeed, or not incompetent, but not as competent as if you had done it on your own?
I feel like, so whenever I have to work in a group, I get a lot more anxious than I would be if I'm working on my own. And if, you know, the project is done and everything and like a flaw is pointed out in the project, even if it's something I didn't work on, I would take the blame. I would be like, oh, this is my fault. I should have done this on my own, if that makes any sense.
So what if, sorry, I'm asking a bunch of questions.
No, it's all good.
What
Is
if,
it? Do you think this is your podcast? Huh? Do you think this is yours?
I'm trying to learn, man. What if project goes perfectly?
The project
Do you
goes
still-
perfectly?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no flaws, A plus,
Okay.
100%, no problem,
Yeah.
right? Would you still feel you could have done a better job on your own?
I wouldn't necessarily feel that I could have done a better job on my own, but I would be like, oh, I could have just done it on my own and it could have turned out the same way. Even though in reality, a lot of group work wouldn't turn out the same if you're doing it alone, because it's group work for a reason, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go next before I shine the spotlight onto Balsam. For me, I
Wow,
think
I was
the
really
one-
getting emotionally prepared to go next.
Oh, okay.
I was like, all right.
The one I resonate most with is the perfectionist, which is I should deliver a perfect performance 100% of the time. My work must always be A plus. I have elements of the soloist, but I think through Ivy and the forced group environment and the group projects that they made me do, that kind of like withered away. But there is that when it's something that means a lot to me. So like a group project for me, it's like, it's going to happen. Everyone's going to contribute. I know the group members I'm with are smart, so I don't have to worry about it. But if it's something that really means a lot to me, so for example, that resume critiquing thing, that meant a lot to me. So I went solo. I could have gotten other people's help. Like I got some people's help. She helped me with like some strategic decisions, but for the rest of the execution, I was like, no, I can get help, but I won't, because I had a particular vision and I'm like, I'm going to do it this way. But as the perfectionist thing goes, I don't know why it's like that, but everything I do, no matter if it's schoolwork, if it's work, if it's my relationships, if it's friendships, whatever, I feel like I have a duty for myself to always give it 100% no matter what. And if I give it like a 98% or 95%, it's like I could have done better. And I feel like I never really get to award myself and I never get to recognize the thing that I'm doing good at. I always look at that like little bit that I missed out on. So I guess to sum it up, I always look at the glass half empty, not the glass half full. That's some.
All right. I've been kind of oscillating between two, so the expert and the superwoman, but I think I landed on the expert, which is if I were really smart, I would already know everything I need to know about this. And personally, this has an origin for me. I think it stems from the fact that, like, in high school, and this is not to boast or anything, but I was like one of those kids who didn't feel like I needed to study a lot. And I'm sure this, each and every one of you, given where you are now in terms of your university career, have had that experience, but like you just didn't need to study as much in high school. At least that's how I felt. Like things came more easy to me. Maybe I went to an easier high school, I'm not sure, but I didn't really struggle. To be honest, the only thing that I remember only ever struggling with was physics, and that came to bite me later on in first year university engineering, because yeah. Anyways, so I always, like, I was always told that I'm really smart. Oh, I'm like the smartest in the class. I'm smart, whatever, right? And you kind of like let that get to your head and you're just like, oh, I know everything. Like, you know what I mean? That mentality. And so taking a year off before going to university really put me off on the already very little study habits that I had acquired in high school. So by the time I got to university, struggled immensely in first year, experienced like some failures and just like things that didn't go the way that I wanted them to. I it kind of developed this like, oh, well, if I was truly smart, like I really thought, then I would know everything. Like I should know everything. And this comes up, I don't know if I'm going ahead, but I'm just saying like this comes up now and affects me now in terms of like starting a new job where I'm afraid to ask questions because I got hired for this position means that I should be smart enough to figure all this on my own. I should know how to get this stuff on my own.
Literally relate to that so hard. Now we talked a little bit about like which one we identify with. So I was wondering if you guys could share any stories of how this has actually played out in your life with respect to your job, your education, maybe you as your like Muslim identity, right? So how has this actually played out in your day-to-day and how do you kind of go about it? All right, Bassam, since you were priming yourself from before, you're
All
up.
right. I think I kind of, yeah, like I pretty much kind of mentioned how I've just started a new internship 2 weeks ago, and thank you so much. But it's like a completely different experience than what I expected. There's just so much that I don't know. I think as a university student, university makes you feel like you know things, but like in reality, you know very little about the world and how it works. So I was kind of shocked. Like there's just so much to learn about, so much to know, and people will be talking about things in meetings. They'll be like, "Do you have questions?" And like in reality, I'm kind of lost and I don't even know what to ask about. And it's so hard for me to ask questions because I'm like, these people hired you. You shouldn't be a burden on them and asking them questions. Like you should be smart and already know this stuff. So maybe if you ask the question, they'll think you aren't as smart. Like things like that, I think for the most part. And even so, like in university itself, like nobody's great at every single course. Like people have weak points in their degree that, hey, like this is a thing that I don't understand as well, right? And like you might have just got a okay grade and passed it and moved on, but you could also be really, really, really good at other areas of your degree. And like I really hold myself, like I kind of put myself down when it comes to the things that I don't know as well. And I feel like my peers know a lot more than me. So yeah.
So have you started asking questions now, or are you still like trying to figure things out by yourself?
I do this thing where when I feel like it's an ongoing cycle for me, and I do this thing where when I'm starting something new in my life and like I'm realizing that I'm doing this thing again where I'm being really hesitant to ask questions and I'm realizing it's impacting my own like learning experience, I'll be like, all right, starting this day, this is going to change. Like ask questions, be yourself. It's okay. Like everyone's here to help you. And I've been having this experience a lot over like the weekend, and just talking to my friends a lot has made me feel okay about not knowing things. So starting Monday, tomorrow, on my meeting, I'm going to start asking questions. So
like, oh, so what was your name again?
To my supervisor. Oh my gosh.
Can I give you like a piece of advice from my experience? Okay, yeah. So I want to say two things. Number one, if you're trying to start out easy, maybe don't ask a question, clarify something by repeating what they said in your own words. That's something I started off from the get-go. So they would say something. So they, for example, they were talking about like Gatorade, right? They'll be like, oh, this is how the supply chain works. And then I'll be like, oh, so just to like understand, the supply chain works in like X, Y, and Z. And this is how the Gatorade is delivered to the end user. And in my explanation, if I'm wrong, that's the question, and they will then clarify it. And the second thing I wanted to say was I asked for it because I'm like 6 weeks in now, and I asked my manager, I'm like, what is the one strength that you've seen in me that I should continue going forward, and what is one area of opportunity? And he said, the thing that's making you stand out right now is your genuine sense of curiosity for how things work. So maybe it's a different culture, maybe it's a completely different industry, but that is something that is not frowned upon at all. Just wanted to throw that in there.
That is a brilliant question, and I need to start taking notes and just like ask that in a few weeks, because I think that's so good. And I don't think enough interns or enough people ask these types of questions. So when you ask something like that, it kind of sticks in their mind for sure.
I also asked my friends that. So,
So it's just a Faizan thing. How can I improve as a
100%.
person?
Oh boy, you can ask the other two people. They've heard that
Yes.
multiple times.
All the
Oh my
time.
goodness. That's good.
Um,
That's good. That's really
But
good.
yeah. All right, Balsam, what is an area of opportunity? I'm kidding. All right, Randa, what about you? How
Sure,
has
I
this
can go ahead.
transpired in your life?
So like I said, I like to kind of like do things alone. And because of that, whenever I'm put into like a group setting, I get way more anxious than when I have to do something on my own and just like find things out on my own and figure things out on my own. And so like, for example, this podcast project is one of these things where I'm just like, I know I can't do it alone because it's not something you can do alone.
Damn straight.
However, I'm working in a group setting, right? And I feel super, super anxious because I'm just like, if something goes wrong, it's on me, right? Even though we're all working together. And so, yeah, so that's kind of like one of the examples of how like it just shows up. And
Go ahead.
also like another way I feel like it often like comes out. So I'm a university student, right? Like I'm going to third year, and there's a lot of like, so while you're like, part of the learning process is asking questions either to your peers or to your instructors or your TAs or whoever they are. I have a personal issue with that. I find it so hard to go up and ask for help because I know I'm supposed to, I have to, I'd rather Google something and like research something for days, even if I know that the prof could just answer my email if I just sent him an email. I just wouldn't do it. And that's so problematic because first of all, you end up wasting so much time. Like if it's a one-line answer, you're wasting so much of your time. And second of all, most people want to help you. So like, why don't you just take the help?
Yeah, Mido, go for it.
I just want to say, like, when she said, I'd rather Google something than email the prof or whatever, like, that just resonated so hard with me. Because
Really?
I remember starting out my master's, like, in I think in, like, July of last year, so July of 2019 or something, we had to choose our courses, right? So if, like, the way that the application for, like, choosing courses is different for masters versus undergrads, in that they give you this form and there's three slots per semester, right? So 3 slots in like the fall, 3 in the winter, and 3 in the summer. So for me, I saw that and I was like, okay, I guess I have to take a bunch of courses. So total 9 courses. Makes sense. So then I just went through trying to figure out which courses I'm supposed to take, and I have absolutely no clue. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take whatever I see as fun. I'm going to send it to my prof and hopefully she likes it. So then I just list it and whatever. And then I send it to her, and she's like, oh, you have to get my approval for it. So, and then she tells me which courses to take, and she's like, yeah, and just take the normal required courses. So she gives me like five electives, and she says, just take the required courses that you need to take. So I said, okay. So then I look through it, and there's only one required course, so that's 6 courses, but there's 3 slots missing. So then, I kid you not, for the next 2 to 3 days, I'm trying to figure out if there's any other required courses, or if she meant to say there's other extra courses that I have to take. I'm not lying when I say 2 extra days. I'm just like trying.
And you could have just asked her, right?
Could have, yeah. And then eventually, like, it was like 1 day left for the application of, like, I had to send in the form before like deadlines due. So I just sent it to my prof, and I was like, here's the schedule. I don't know what to fill the rest with. It's like, oh, master students only need 6 courses full time. You don't need to take more.
Oh my
I was like,
god.
oh my god.
Oh my god.
So
I
just
literally felt that.
like, it was
2
like,
days of anxiety for no reason.
and like, it was
Yeah.
actual like insane anxiety. Right? I was going nuts. I was like,
Okay, how about you, Faizan?
For me, because I have that perfectionistic tendency, it's actually more, so it's obviously prevalent in academics and work, like that's kind of given, but an area where I actually put a lot of emphasis on is in my personal relationships, because I see that for me, one of the things that I really, really prioritize and I try to work on so much is managing and maintaining relationships. So that's why, like, some of you guys randomly will get like texts from me, be like, hey, how you guys doing? Is everything okay? You know, is there anything I can do to help? Whatever. And that's part of that. Like I do it not just to you guys, but to a lot of other people as well, just because I know.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. You thought I was joking when I was like,
Wait,
I'll
no,
be back
okay.
in 2 weeks.
This man messaged me 2 weeks ago. Sorry to interrupt. I just have to say. He messaged me 2 weeks ago. He's like, how's work? I'm like, I start on Monday, so message me in 2 weeks. He's like, cool. Right on the dot, messages me on Friday. He's like, so how's work been? I'm like, this man put like an alarm on his phone, like got a text Balsam.
Oh, that's not a lie. I literally put reminders on my phone saying like on this date, message this person about this
Oh
thing.
my God.
Yeah. And he like always remembers, like if you have an exam or if you have a paper due or whatever, like he'll always message you.
A great human being. Congratulations on being great.
Thank you. But yeah, so I put a lot of emphasis on my personal relationships. So that's when, so for me as a person, I only have so much gas in the tank. So when things happen at the same time, when I can't manage those relationships in a way where I think it's acceptable or perfect, it takes a toll on me. So just this week, it was just one of those weeks where I had like I reached out to a couple friends. I was like, just gonna catch up, whatever. And it was like an emotional, like really heavy emotional week because I had like 3 friends going through 3 completely different problems. And I was just like, okay, what the hell is happening? And all of it just like dumped on me in 24 hours. And so I'm just like trying to figure out, okay, what do I tell this person? What do I tell this person? And I kept constantly thinking about it. And it affected me in my work. I wasn't even able to work out and run properly because I was constantly thinking about it. So it's just like that piece is really annoying. And another area is like for my family, right? Like I see myself and I'm like, I need to be like a really good brother. I need to be a really good son. I need to be a really good friend. So it's like all these relationships, it's like really hard to manage, and it's really taxing. But I guess without that tendency, it could be a lot worse. So I guess it's good in a way, right? Maybe someone will remember that I called them out on their exam, and then, it might make their day or something. I don't know. But yeah, for me, it's more on the relationship piece as opposed to like school or work.
Okay, go on, Mido.
So in September of 2019, I was the MSA Socials Director. And I remember it was during the barbecue. So that was like the first event for the MSA. And we made like a WhatsApp group for all the other brothers so that like you can communicate. If you have questions, you can ask, that kind of thing. So I remember I was sitting in the MSA barbecue, and then someone asked a question regarding like socials or whatever. So then I sat there, and I'm not even lying when I say I think I sat there for 2 to 3 minutes trying to figure out what to answer. I was sitting right beside the president of the MSA, right? But in my head, I was like, should I ask him for help? I was like, no, I'm the socials director. I should be competent enough to answer it on my own. So I sat there for 2 to 3 minutes trying to contemplate what I should answer. And it took so, like, I was trying, and eventually, like, he saw that, like, like, someone messaged on the WhatsApp. He's like, oh, okay, I got it. And he just pulled out his phone, and then he just answered it super easy. And I was like, why was that hard for me to ask him, like, for help? Like, I don't know why, but, like, it was insanely difficult for me to be like, hey, like, I need help. Because here's the thing. I had to go through like an interview process to be the socials director and everything. So I was like, oh, a lot of people must apply. Yeah. And therefore I need to actually show that they didn't hire someone incorrectly or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me, in that I was like, I really should know. And I felt really disappointed in myself that day. And I remember the next like week or two, I started asking everyone like as many questions as I could, just to understand. This way, if like someone else asks another question on WhatsApp, I could be able to answer. And I remember I made a promise to myself that the next person who asks a question, I will try to answer it to prove that I actually belong in the MSA and the social sector.
Yeah. Okay. I related to that so much. You know how I was responsible, sorry Faizan, I'm just gonna talk for one more minute. You know how I was responsible for the MSA Islam Awareness Month Instagram page? And I had to like make all the graphics and take all the pictures for people, get everything arranged and everything like that. I had 2 committee members assigned to me, 2 or 3 actually, that were assigned to me who were supposed to help me with everything. Did I give them any work? no, because I felt like I had to do it on my own, even though literally we interviewed these committee members literally for that reason. And it's not their fault that they didn't do any work. It's my fault because I was just like, I have to get this all done on my own. And it was so insanely difficult to have to like consistently be doing all that work. But yeah.
If
Okay.
anyone is like me and really values that relationship piece and you're in a position like that, don't worry about, I'm saying this as a perfectionist, don't worry about the end product being perfect, because in my opinion, reaching out to those people for help and getting them on board will enhance the perspectives that is required for that project,
Yeah.
and
100%.
you get to make more friends. So that's that.
100%. Yeah. Because the more the perspectives, probably the better the project will turn out. Because as an individual, you always feel like you're seeing everything from all angles when actually you're not. You have tons of blind spots and you need people to point that out for you, right?
Okay, so we talked a little bit about what we go through, but now I want to kind of pivot to how we deal with it. So how do you actually reason all these things going in your head and validate yourself, and at some point come to the conclusion that, okay, like I actually deserve this job, or I actually deserve this award or this achievement? Mido, I'm sorry to cut you off last time, so you're going to start us off.
So how do I deal with it? Honestly, I don't know if there's like an easy way to get over it, right? You're like, I can honestly say that, like, even in my teaching, I felt incompetent. I was like, I'm not the right person for the job. I don't know why they even hired me. Yet, having said that, I still barely ask my colleagues, and like I would always, the person I'd always ask is a friend of mine who also graduated from teachers college, and he's actually really, really good as a teacher, and his dad is a principal, and his family is like, his family is full of educators. So I would ask him for advice, but I still never ask my colleagues as much. And like, mentally, I know it's the wrong move. I should ask my colleagues. I should ask them. But it's just, I don't know. Like you're still in the beginning of your career. You're still in the beginning of the process. So I am having a bit of difficulty. I know towards the end, like towards the last month, as a teacher at the school, I started actually asking more and more questions to this one specific teacher, because he was really cool, and he'd always like come and interrupt my class during his spare just to say hi and like mess around with the students. So I was like, okay, he's a good guy. So with him, I would ask him more questions, and like he's actually like I remember one time he gave me a piece of advice, and the first thing that came to my mind is like, wow, he's actually so full earlier. And then Corona came, and then like the entire thing was gone, and like I don't even have access to him anymore. So that kind of sucks. But essentially, I was like, they actually, people around you who are more experienced, they have knowledge to give. We just need to be brave enough to actually go ahead and ask. And there's no easy way to say you can do it, you got this. It's just, you have to believe in yourself. If you need like a week to get over it, great. If you need a month, great. I just make a mental note that you need to get over it. Okay?
I think I'll actually go next. I put a double psych on you guys. The way I deal with it, so again, just a reminder, I'm like that perfectionist type. And so a lot of things that relate to perfectionism relates to the expectations you have of other people. And so recently what I've been doing is being like very open, and again, like that relationship piece, right? So very open with the people around me as to what they expect from me. And like, it's a really awkward conversation sometimes, but literally when we were planning this podcast, we planned it for like 6 months. And part of that 6 months was me trying to understand Randa, be like, what do you want from this? What do you hope to get out of it? What can I do to make sure this is fruitful for all of us? Same thing for like Misha, same thing for Yasmin. I do that with my friends. I'm like, hey, like we're doing X. What do you want from me? What do you need from me? So that you leave satisfied. So there's that over communicating. It gets annoying. I'm sure my friends can attest to it. It gets annoying, but from my end, what that has enabled me to do is come to terms with not making assumptions about what they want and what I should deliver. Rather, it's like you ask them like, hey, I need X. When I'm feeling down, I need you to reach out to me. I'm like, cool, I'll do that. Right? Instead of me trying to like play this guessing game and be like, oh, when should I text this person? When should I text that? I was like, no. Just ask, and whatever they answer, just do that. And if you feel like they are giving you that hidden messages, and like also part of this is because I suck at like reading signals, right? I just like completely suck at it. So you could be crying and I would not know if you're sad or happy or hungry. I just wouldn't. And that's just my mindset. So over communication for me, with respect to perfectionism, to manage those expectations is really important, and I would 100% recommend. All right, Balsam.
I think, let me compose myself. Okay, I think I've been grappling with this issue, like this imposter syndrome issue, a lot recently, just like starting my new job. So I'm sorry if I keep bringing it up, but I think I have to be honest and say, like, I was really, I don't want to say lucky, because I think saying you're lucky that you got this fuels the imposter syndrome situation. But I think a lot of what goes in my mind is I have so many amazing, smart classmates, like people who have done so many things, achieved so much more than me, yet I'm the one who ended up working with a good company, and it's, you know, something along the lines of what I wanted to work in the future. And like part of it is like, you're so lucky, but part of me is like, you're not as deserving as someone else would have of this opportunity, because they worked hard. There's someone out there who worked harder than you, wanted this position more than you, and things like that. And I think also just being a girl in engineering, you also have the sense of like, oh, well, they hired you because they needed to fill a quota of not having so many men in the workplace. I think that whole gender imbalance thing is a whole other situation, of course. But I'm just saying, like, you have all these issues that come into your mind, and like how I deal with it is saying like, like I interviewed for this position. They picked out my resume. The person who interviewed me pointed out the things that he liked about me in my resume, asked me about them, and by the end of the call told me, I'm looking forward to working with you. So, you know, just affirming to myself all the experiences that I've had, like, hey, you are deserving of this position. You are smart enough. You are good enough. Nobody's gonna pay you money or hire you just because they need to like fill a quota of having a girl in the workplace, or like, you know what I mean? So I think just like affirming myself consistently is super, super important, and just not letting negativity get to me at all. Yep.
I just want to say that, like, I've had like a supervising teacher, and he told me how 100% the only reason he was hired is because he's a male, right? He told me how in the past, in teaching, the ratio of females to male in elementary school was very much female dominant, and the principal, when he was hiring him, it was him against like a bunch of other girls, and he told them, listen, like, there's no point of interviewing you because I need a male to fill the quota.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to accept it? So he was 100% hired just because he's a male. And right now, when I went up to him, he is considered one of the best teachers. Everyone respects him. He proved himself that he is not just the right person for the job, but the best person for the job, right? So just because they hired you because they think they need to fill quota for women doesn't mean you can't prove to them that you're an asset, and you can't prove to them that you are not just the best person, but there is no other person that could possibly fill your position. Mm-hmm. So just something to think
add
about.
on to that. So the place I'm working at right now, one of the core values is raise the bar on talent and diversity. But when you hear that, you fixate yourself on that diversity piece. But in reality, it's both talent and diversity. And more often than not, yes, companies do have quotas, but that's not to say they're sacrificing on talent. Rather, what they're doing is they're opening up the opportunities beyond what was traditionally considered appropriate to everyone else to allow everyone now a playing field. So if you're brown, if you're black, if you wear a headscarf, if you're black and you wear a headscarf, that doesn't mean you are being given some sort of ridiculous advantage. It's that now you are starting the race at the same place as everyone else is. So that's just kind of the reality. And I don't think anyone should ever think that I only got this because of this. It's that, no, you got this because you were finally given the opportunity to race with everyone equally.
Yeah, definitely. I think just like reaffirming yourself, like if anyone out there is having that same experience as me, especially being in like, if you're a girl and you're in a male dominated industry, and I think it works as well. Say if you're a guy and you're in a female dominated industry, just like reaffirming yourself, like what Mido said, even if you did get the job because of that, doesn't mean you can't be the best person you possibly can in that position. I recently saw this post on Instagram talking about rizq, like how would I translate rizq for someone who doesn't speak Arabic, I guess.
Right?
So yeah, sustenance, like blessing and sustenance. And it was just talking about how like it's so beautiful. Like say if you're gonna eat something, like if I'm gonna eat like this cookie, God like willed for that farmer who got the wheat and the flour and the person who sold the flour and the people who baked the cookie and like every part of what you just got in your life and was blessed with, God willed for that particle, for that atom, for that thing to just come from its beginnings all the way to you. And so just like if you are in a position where you have been blessed with something and you keep telling yourself, well, maybe I don't deserve this, well, maybe there's someone better out there like who could have gotten this and it would have made their life better or something like that, like God willed this for you so much, it went through so much just to get to you. So accept it, like take it and make the best you can out of it. I don't know if that message makes any sense, but yeah.
So one way I've, kind of forced myself to combat this type of feeling that I'm only competent if I'm doing something on my own and I'm doing it well on my own is I've been forcing myself to work in group settings. Even when I do have the option to work solo, I force myself to work through a group setting. And the only way I found it easier to do is I usually bring friends along, because it's always easier to work in a group of friends than to work in a new group of people. And then within that group of friends, we just add more people into it and it just gets easier that way. And so that's something I've been doing a lot. And it's definitely still an issue for me. Like I still catch myself, being like, oh, I should just be doing this alone. Even if everything is going fine, I would just be like, oh, I should just be doing this alone. But it's definitely gotten way better now that I've been forcing myself into group settings. And it's also helped like my social skills in general just get better. So there's the plus to that.
Congratulations on
Thanks,
your friends. But yeah, I think that kind of is going to wrap up this episode. We hope whoever's listening to this enjoyed it and they can relate to some of our experiences. All of us are coming from very diverse backgrounds and perspectives and educations and all of that good stuff. So hopefully someone heard something and they can resonate with it and maybe improve upon it themselves. That being said, there are some resources that are available online or just like things that you can read. So for example, there's a Harvard Business Review article that kind of talks about different types of imposter syndrome and what you do to improve it. There's an article by Time. And if you want to get a bit more personal, then Reddit's pretty good too. As much as I joke about like Reddit, it's actually a pretty good place where you can go and hear other people's thoughts. Like it's not like Harvard where it's like professors, it's just people talking about their experiences, and it could help you in any way that you're struggling with. So with that being said, we're going to sign off and we're going to thank our two awesome guests for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.